Hello, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be capping things off with the final installment of In Defense of Sakura Haruno. This will be part 3 where we actually cap off everything in the war arc and her different actions, and we're going to be rounding off our final thoughts on Sakura and seeing whether or not her actions are worth defending or not. But with that being said, let's get started of course. Before that, I would like to mention that we ended off with Sakura actually already being known to have joined the 3rd division in the war, which is Kakashi's division, but she was actually playing more of her active role in the medical realm. So like I said in the previous video, being a medical ninja, you're not going to be doing the most active of I guess the most eventful things out there. You're actually healing people, you're healing the injured, and that's okay, you know. We respect doctors for what they do in our real world, so without a doubt you could always respect the medical ninjas in the Naruto world as well. And even though they're not doing the most eventful things, you could still definitely respect them for what they do, because they are, after all, they're the ones healing you. They're the ones actually keeping the ninjas alive in the war, so they are definitely a very crucial part, just as important as HQ themselves. But with that being said, within the war, Sakura pretty much plays the majority of her role actually being in the medical units. Now, there is a particular point where the Zetsu were actually able to mimic the chakra and become any of the other people and disguise themselves and pretty much just ambush any ninja whenever they want. So we actually get this singular episode where Sakura is actually tending to the wounded, and we have one of the Zetsus actually come in disguised as Neji, and amazingly Sakura obviously figures it out. She somehow seems to already have some kind of doubt, so because of that she's able to set up a plan where she's able to trick the Zetsu into thinking that Tonton is actually a human, whereas obviously we all know that Tonton is a pig. So definitely a really smart move that gives Sakura a few points up for a few people as well, so that's definitely quite amazing. But just before that, there is something I also did want to mention, where they did say that at the beginning when Zabuza and Haku were actually revived and Team Kakashi came over to stop them, Sakura was actually part of that fighting unit, the infantry unit, which, like I said, it's definitely really weird how one moment Sakura's on the battlefield fighting, but then all of a sudden they pushed her, or rather they ordered her to go and tend to the wounded. Maybe it's because at the very beginning of the war there were no wounded ninjas, so she played a more active role in the infantry unit, but then later on she was allowed to go into the medical corps, where she actually tended to all the wounded ninja. But with that being said, again, she fought in the battle that actually involved Zabuza and Haku, at least for a brief moment, or at least in the very first day, and from there she changed her duties. What I find interesting is that now that I think about it, her remaining parts in the war is really in day 2, where they actually where all the ninja really go into the actual battlefield itself to face off Obito and Madara. So I'm just going to do that now. We're moving on to day 2 of the war, which is pretty much the final day of the war. Really surprising, of course, really funny. But yeah, you know, in this particular point, everyone's there, they're fighting their way through. You can't really like say too much about Sakura at this point, because aside from Naruto, every other shinobi didn't really do too much. I mean, the 5 Kage got wrecked by Madara, and every other shinobi were pretty much just getting killed in that particular scenario. In fact, sadly Neji ended up dying as well, so that's obviously a misfortunate event. But either way, every shinobi didn't really do anything up until the point where Naruto actually shared his chakra, which is definitely the amazing thing, giving everyone a bit of a power. Sakura also spent her time also healing Naruto as well, which is definitely a really crucial thing, because remember in the very first arc of Naruto Shippuden where Sakura was the only medical ninja to even be able to save Kankuro? Well, in this case, she was probably the only person or the only medical ninja who was capable of actually healing Naruto back up again to full force. At least maybe if Tsunade was there as well, but as we know, Tsunade definitely didn't have the strength anymore. She was in a very weakened state after being wrecked by Madara. So in this case, Sakura is the best medical ninja on the field right now, so it's definitely quite a feat that a lot of people just overlook. But with that being said, of course, we eventually get to the point where Sasuke actually joins the battlefield as well, and we have this nice interaction between Team 7 and all the rookies as well, so it's definitely really fun. But we immediately move on to this Team 7 sequence where we actually have all of the Team 7 members, Sakura, Naruto and Sasuke, all pretty much living up to the Sannin that they were trained by, and they created like this new three-way deadlock where they actually had all their summonings out. Sakura was pretty much doing the mass healing, and like I said, don't take away the credit from a medical ninja, they are definitely still very crucial towards a war. They are actually very important to the war. In fact, her summoning out Katsuyu was definitely one of the greatest things that a lot of people in the war could be grateful for. Without Sakura, a lot of people would actually be dying in the war just because they would run out of chakra. Now of course we move on a bit further on ahead in the war, and we get to the point where Naruto and Sasuke both ends up pretty much getting killed by Madara, where Madara stabs Sasuke and stuff happens on his side, but particularly on Naruto's side, Madara absorbs or extracts all the tailed beast or the 9 tails from Naruto, so he's pretty much on the brink of death. And they said that obviously Tsunade had to heal off Naruto or keep him alive for the time being, so there was a way to save Naruto, but keep in mind he had to actually somehow prolong his life until they actually arrived there, and Gaara was actually panicking as well. So in this particular case he needed Tsunade, but Tsunade unfortunately was in a weakened state, so the second best option is Sakura in this case, if not the best option. And with that being said, Sakura was pretty much here very crucial, because without Sakura, Naruto would be dead. She pretty much kept his heart beating, and she even gave him air as well, or oxygen, by doing CPR. So very crucial. Obviously Naruto ends up coming back of course, and we get to this point where I want to bring this up just because although it doesn't happen until later on, it is something I wanted to actually bring up as a good point to defend Sakura here. So at this particular point in time, while Naruto is actually being brought back to life again, in this case, Black Zetsu has already taken over Obito, and Obito is pretty much pleading for Kakashi and Minato to actually get rid of his eye. Now this is going to come on later on, but in this particular moment, both Kakashi and Minato also didn't actually act quickly enough to actually get rid of Obito's eye. By the time they actually resolved to actually do it, it was too late, and the Black Zetsu had already blocked it off and was able to attain control of Obito again. So we could obviously see that that's definitely a problem, and this kind of leads on to later on where Madara was about to steal Obito's eye, and Obito was pretty much pleading for Sakura to actually get rid of the eye. So in this circumstance, a lot of people actually blame Sakura. They considered this a major strike for Sakura, and a lot of people actually used this particular event as the main reason to hate Sakura throughout the entire series. In fact, I don't even think any of the other particular actions of Sakura prior to this particular moment even made her a hateable character. It was because of this moment that people really just wanted to focus on. But I want people to actually remember that both Kakashi and Minato actually failed to do it in the first place, which is why it led to Sakura in this particular case as well. But another thing I actually wanted to also use as a defense for Sakura is the fact that in the anime, it was actually poorly adapted. If you actually read the manga, this was all meant to be a monologue inside Sakura's head, meaning this is no more than just a few seconds. If anything, I'd say 3 seconds at most. Do you ever have those moments where in your mind you're actually thinking really quickly and in real life only a few seconds have passed? Well, in this particular case, Sakura is having that exact moment. While the scene itself seems like a really long time and she's just taking a long time to take out Obito's eye, it is part of a monologue where this is all just going on inside Sakura's head. So when you guys blame Sakura for not actually taking out Obito's eye, you have to keep in mind that this is in a matter of just a few seconds, where it's all just a monologue inside Sakura's head. But the anime does this poorly by cutting scenes over and over and over again, one to the outside world and one being inside Obito's world, or the Kamui world, where Sakura and Obito are actually inside there. And a lot of people really misunderstand that particular scene. They read that scene actually really wrong, because it's actually just a monologue inside Sakura's head. There's nothing to blame for it. And keep in mind, like I said, I want to repeat this because I want to emphasize the point that Kakashi and Minato were the ones who actually failed at the very first point that Obito actually pleaded for them to actually take out his eye. But hopefully that clears up things here, so let's move on a bit ahead, where now at this point Madara is still getting defeated anyway, and Kaguya gets revived and comes out. Team 7 is really just the only people who are actually alive at this point, because everyone is already under the infinite Tsukuyomi. So what actually happens here is, well, honestly, most of the credit really goes to Naruto and Sasuke. Even Kakashi didn't really do anything. It's only until the final moments where Kakashi somehow just got these hacks jutsus and somehow got his own Susanoo, his own perfect Susanoo, which is really surprising. And we end off with Team 7 actually defeating Kaguya, which I absolutely love this particular scene, because you have Naruto and Sasuke trying to get to Kaguya. She goes up, but Sakura is actually already there and punches Kaguya down, and that kind of caps it off and ends it with Team 7 doing these final blows to finally get rid of Kaguya once and for all. And I absolutely just love this moment. But of course, after defeating Kaguya, we have the whole disagreement with Sakura and Sasuke and Naruto actually, where Sakura is now pleading for Sasuke to actually come back. And you know what, you guys can say, oh, she's stupid for still wanting to, or still being in love with Sasuke, but you have to keep in mind, this is just loyalty. I mean, is it so easy for you guys to actually ditch the person you might have fallen for? I mean, I don't really think so. If anything, this is actually, you know, just true loyalty right here. It's unconditional love, and I think a lot of people just neglect this, but this happens in real life as well. Your parents don't actually love you because they genuinely love you. If anything, some parents only love their children just because they have to love their children. So in that case, it's unconditional love. And this kind of applies towards Sasuke as well. No matter what actions Sasuke actually takes, Sakura has unconditional love towards Sasuke. So is it really something to condemn her for? I mean, we even see this in the case of Hinata and her unconditional love for Naruto as well. It's only by the time where the actual conflict is resolved between Naruto and Sasuke does Team 7 finally reform again. And what's amazing is, because of Sakura's unconditional love towards Sasuke, they were able to get together, because Sasuke actually gained a huge plus. I mean, there's no better match for Sasuke than Sakura in this case. I mean, she is the strongest kunoichi in this particular point of the series. And yeah, to actually have Sasuke, it's meant to symbolize dreams coming true for the series. So what did you think about Sakura Haruno throughout the series? Was her actions justified? Was her actions actually worth condemning? Or were they actually praiseworthy? For me, I actually personally think that Sakura and all her actions are actually very admirable. She's a medical ninja. She's one of the most crucial members within the Leaf Village, not only as a medical ninja on her own, but even for the fact that she's technically become part of the new Sanin, which makes it quite interesting. I think a lot of her hate just stems from the points where a lot of people just misunderstand different scenes, or misunderstand the different context behind her character and what her actions are actually involved in this particular case. But tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. But that's pretty much it for this particular video, so I hope you guys actually enjoyed that. I'm not really going to go over the Sakura Shinden or the Sasuke Shinden novels and everything like that, because that's just not really part of the series. They're on their own separate things, and there's not really much else to talk about it, because at that point a lot of people started liking Sakura a lot. But with that being said, I hope I didn't miss out anything. If I did, then definitely do mention it below in the comments, and drop a like if you enjoyed this video as well. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great day. This is Enigma, signing out.